President Trump was criticized recently for warning voters that Joe Biden's pledge to expand and enforce the Fair Housing Act would mean an influx of crime and a loss of property values for suburban homeowners. Do you believe the government should do more to promote suburban racial and economic diversity? And if so, what should be done?
Yes.
One minute.
Without question. Look, what I think this moment has taught many, but I think some of us have known before, is the myriad ways in which there's been structural racism codified at every level of government, federal, state, local. And one of the most prolific examples of that, John, has been the Fair Housing Act in combination with local zoning laws. We have in Boston, as of 2018, the median net worth of a white household is $247,000. The median net worth of a black household is $8. That disparity comes down to, one, lack of economic opportunity, lack of good wages, good paying jobs, but the inability to then gain access to a housing market. If we are going to take on the structural racism that we need to in order to provide opportunity for truly every American, we need to be good to our promise and good to our values. And we need to invest in additional housing stock and rectify the ills of the Fair Housing Act.
Mr. Markey, 1 minute.
Okay. Donald Trump says he wants to make America great again. He really wants to make America hate again. And what he's doing is just systematically trying to find issues that can somehow or other get him votes out in the suburbs. That's what it's all about. It's just racism, plain and simple. He's the most racist president of all time in our country's history. And so we just have to break down these suburban barriers that make it more difficult for minority families to be able to move in. I live in Malden. We have a very racially diverse community. But every community in the suburbs should be similarly diverse. And that has to be the goal of the federal government next year. We have to put justice on the ballot for housing policies in our country to make sure that this historic bias that goes all the way back to slavery, by the way, in terms of black families able to accumulate enough wealth to own homes in the suburbs so that we begin to rectify that historic injustice that is built deeply into the fabric of our country's history.
All right, response here, and I'd like some clarity, more clarity from both of you on exactly what you would do to integrate the suburbs.
Yeah, so, John, in responding to Senator Markey's point, though, so I agree largely with what he said. We as the federal government need to do more in order to tackle those systemic structures. The difference is that at multiple points over Senator Markey's career, he's actually exacerbated those challenges. He hasn't tried to level those barriers. Voting for 3 strikes you're out and mass incarceration sent a generation of African-American men to jail. Opposing busing in our school system is not a way to break down structural barriers around race. It continues to codify them and perpetuates them. Voting to detain more immigrants or to keep immigration beds as high as they can, that's not a way that you actually integrate immigrants into our community. That's a way to separate, to exacerbate fear, and to exacerbate division. That's Senator Markey's record when it comes to racial justice in this country.
Response.
Okay, first of all, I changed my position on busing 40 years ago, just so I can get that out, 40 years ago, and it was because of Mel King, Bill Owens, Doris Punty, and others. That was 40 years ago. In terms of the housing issue in the suburbs right now, we need state laws that pass that are tough. State laws that just break down these discriminatory barriers that exist in suburban communities all across the state of Massachusetts. We need federal policies that provide the funding for families who have historically not had the ability to be able to put down the deposit to be able to live in the suburbs. So we need something that happens at the local level, the state level, and the federal level. And we have to say that we are about to have a moment of justice for these families. Justice that ensures they get the health care, they get the education, they get the housing, they get the criminal justice that they deserve. We're at a big moment in our country's history. We can see it on the streets of our country. The soul of our country is on fire, and one of the things we have to do is to put housing in the suburbs at the top of the list of things that we're going to provide for those communities that have been historically excluded.
Go ahead.
So, Senator, I actually agree with you that we are at this big moment, and that we have, out of this wreckage comes a reckoning for this country to address so many of the structural failures that have left us with this injustice that we see. The difference is that you are not going to bring that about just by voting the right way and passing filing the right bill. Those deals are not going to happen in the back rooms in Washington, D.C. You need a senator that is fully engaged in all aspects of that job. The revolutions that we talk about, from the American Revolution to bread and roses to women's suffrage to civil rights, it happens on our streets. And it's hard to be here on our streets when you are living in Washington, D.C. You spend less than a week a month before this election cycle in Washington. But you say that you have to be there to vote, but again, during this time of COVID-19, of economic and public health crisis, you miss over 50% of the votes. And if you want to go bring about the change that you say we need, then in 2018, when Republicans had the House, the Senate, and the presidency, you literally went nowhere, campaigned for no one to help bring about that change.
Okay.
So if you are not here in Massachusetts, and you are not in Washington, and you are not out there on the front lines campaigning to bring about the change that we need, then yeah, I think Massachusetts deserves more out of its senator.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. First of all, Congressman Kennedy and I, during the time we've served together, we each have a 95% voting record in Washington. 95% apiece. So just put that to rest. But on this issue of change, well, I took on the oil industry and the auto industry to increase fuel economy standards and the largest single reduction in greenhouse gases in American and world history. That's my law. I took on the NRA to have now $25 million being spent at the CDC to do research on the causes of gun violence in our society, to make NRA stand for not relevant anymore in American society. That's my law. I have a $25 to $30 billion program to find the cure for Alzheimer's by the year 2025. That's my law. I have a bill which put the internet on the desk of every single child in our country, and I'm fighting hard right now to make sure they get it at home during this pandemic, because 12 million children do not have it. That's my law. So the difference between us is that I have more than 500 laws on the books that have been signed by presidents. The job of a senator is to go to Washington, to pass laws, to get them signed, to help the people back in your home state. That is what I do. The congressman himself has said that he's got 13 bills that have passed, and in his own words, most of them small and insignificant. The difference between us is that we have a job, and it's to go to Washington, and it's to get bills passed that help people back home. I do that.
Less than a minute to break. Split it. Go ahead.
So I don't think, Senator, that making hearing aids more affordable is insignificant to our seniors in need of hearing.
Those are your words.
I don't think that the overhauling industrial or advanced manufacturing policy to revitalize American manufacturing for communities like Fall River is insignificant. I don't think that guaranteeing mental and behavioral health care for pregnant women and new moms is insignificant. I don't think that putting together a coalition to actually fight for economic opportunity in the south coast of Massachusetts is insignificant. Maybe you do. No, but I stand by. No,
you use the word small and insignificant. I'm only quoting you and using your own words to describe the 13 bills. So you use those words.
I characterize my own legislative record as small and insignificant. I find that hard to believe.
Okay, on that note, gentlemen, let's take a breather, have a sip of water.